There we go. Hey everyone, me Kevin here. We've got B words starting very, very shortly. So we've already had a bunch of videos released from the group. They released a bunch of videos at 9, sort of like lecture style videos that you can kind of watch about crypto and the history of Bitcoin and energy usage and some of the benefits. And what we're going to do in about 8 minutes and 44 seconds-ish is we're going to watch and then comment on Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey, and Cathie Wood talking about the B word, which is, of course, a Bitcoin. So super excited to see this. We'll be covering this and adding commentary as it happens. Again, starting in about 8 minutes here. So we have, let's see here. We are also going to go ahead and grab the sticks so we can track the market and try to understand what's happening in the market at the same time as the event is going on. Now, over the last few days, we have had Bitcoin lockups with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. It's likely that this has helped contribute to a sell-off in Bitcoin prices. If we go ahead and grab, for example, Bitcoin USD, let's take a peek here. We've got a Bitcoin here right now trading at 32,144, which is a lot better than it was just 24 hours ago. We were under 29,000, which is where we sat. Yeah, let's take a peek here. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's go to 1 hour here. Yeah, here's our 1 hour chart. You can really see this beautiful head and shoulders pattern here, which is pretty clear reverse or inverse head and shoulders pattern, which is generally pretty bullish for security. So we'll see what happens. But this is nice to see versus the massive negative sort of head and shoulders that we've been forming. Fortunately, the hope is that with the expiration of these Grayscale Bitcoin lockups, we finally start seeing a little bit more move to the upside. Now, 1 minute on crypto is usually a little harder to understand where the trends are heading. I like to use sometimes I'll use 5 minutes, but honestly, 30 minutes is usually pretty fair for crypto since it does trade 24/7. And so here you could really see us sitting below that 30,100 line for a solid 24 hours. And now we are climbing above. So very excited about that. We have just 7 minutes to go before we start getting information on the on the live event, which I'm super excited. Yeah, new bumper sticker coming. We'll see. And the court is at 3 p.m. today. Thanks for asking. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So we do have about 6 minutes to go. We can go ahead and look at some other coins as well and kind of see how things are going. Let's take a peek here. So let's go to Dogecoin. Let's see how Dogecoin's doing. By the way, Dogecoin has been a significant source of revenue for Robinhood, and it'll be really interesting to see if this sort of volatility of this pricing in cryptocurrencies going up and down, if this ends up driving some beneficial moves in terms of like maybe more volume and more revenues for companies like Robinhood or Coinbase or these other companies, which quite frankly, they need a little bit of love. Okay, they've been crypto companies have been so almost neglected. Hold on one second. There we go. And it's mostly because of this crypto sell-off that we've been seeing for a while here. So oopsies. Okay. Oh, there we go. So darn headset here. There we go. This is much better. Okay. So let's keep going here. We've got AMC selling down a little bit, by the way. It was doing actually pretty well this morning, up 2 or 3%, but we are retracting right back to that 41.36 line. Now, I know this isn't an AMC stream, but since we will be covering the live event there with Cathie Wood and Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey, but I'm excited to really watch what happens here with crypto pricing. Some folks believe that we're seeing crypto pricing move to the upside because of the lockups being done now. And perhaps now we can just focus on going back to normal. Some say, crypto sold off because we had a lot of fear in the market on Monday and various different things. And this was seen as maybe one of the largest risk assets, potentially, and sold off because of that. And then others say it's because of the Grayscale Bitcoin lockups. Oh, well, same thing. We already mentioned that. So that's now behind us. That fear is subsiding. We're seeing the lockups behind us, which is good. And I'm excited to watch, particularly Bitcoin, of course, because a lot of the coins are following in Bitcoin's footsteps. And we know this to be generally true. It's sort of like a a combined market, like they're all rubber banded together. As Ethereum becomes relatively cheaper to Bitcoin, people buy Ethereum and bring that price together again. As Bitcoin gets more expensive, Doge gets relatively cheaper, or ADA gets relatively cheaper, so people buy that and bring it up with Bitcoin, right? So we'll see. Very, very, very exciting for this. So someone here says Flash K suggests, and this is possible. Okay, I don't think I'm wrong. Flash K thinks I'm wrong, but Flash K thinks this could be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. That is possible. It's kind of like when we had the Bitcoin convention. You get a little bit of that buy the rumor, sell the news happening, or you had that. It's possible. Yeah, sure. I mean, you've got a big Bitcoin event here. Why not? It's entirely possible. So I'm going to actually Bitcoin, the B word. Bitcoin, the B word. Okay, perfect. All right, I'll pop that in there. All right, while we get ready here, we're about 3 minutes away from the event starting. I just want to give you a quick reminder that 40% off coupon code does expire tomorrow for the amazing programs on Building Your Wealth. Link down below. And the price goes up on the 23rd. All right, so let's see here. I will go with... there we go. Okay, perfect. So we're now about 3 minutes away. Super excited for this. And we have, let's see here, Marin. Oh, wow. Marin's up 35%. That's incredible. Wow, what moves here? Big Digital. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh, Big Digital. So Big Digital is one, man, that's crazy. I literally just transferred money over to my TD Ameritrade as well, but I'm not going to have money there quick enough. That's a beautiful run, though. But yeah, crypto definitely running right now. Will we see another correction in case you missed this dip? Probably. We tend to go in cycles, so I generally don't get impatient when it comes to investing. But I'm excited. I'm really excited for this event. I want to hear a lot about energy. I want to hear a lot about China, the impact of China's miners getting shut down. So energy, China, huge. Want to hear a little bit about efficacy and like use cases for cryptocurrencies, right? A lot of things that could be very, very beneficial here. Yeah, SoFi did pump a little bit, which I'm excited about. I've actually got shares, sold puts, and calls on SoFi. So I'll take it. I will take it. All right. Yeah, no, I don't understand Bitcoin futures. I understand Bitcoin futures sometimes have extremely volatile pricing, but these futures are still traded by people trading today based on what they believe pricing might be like in the future. And most of us retail don't have access to these futures. So generally I turn a blind eye to this. I'm not going to like stick my head in the sand and just be like stupid and not pay attention to stuff. But I don't believe the futures market is as efficient as it should be yet. And so I don't believe that it actually appropriately reflects pricing. So let's see. Do you think Elon Musk will be beneficial or a hindrance to the Bitcoin price today? Well, I think Elon Musk, you can expect him to be very real with his frustrations that currently a lot of Bitcoin energy production is fossil fuel based. We make this argument that, 70% of crypto is mined with renewables. Well, sure, mined with renewables, but how much of the energy production is actually renewable? And usually that percentage falls down to like 35 or 36%, which means you're mostly dirtier fossil fuels, right? So now that's not to say that we have to be 100% anti-fossil fuel either. Oh, wow. Okay. They just put a delay countdown on here. That's not to say you have to be anti-fossil fuel entirely, because there are actually clean ways to utilize fossil fuels between now and when we have a full green revolution. I just have to sort of be smart about how that gets put together and to make sure it's as efficient and clean as possible. I don't think government should stand in the way of us making sure we have enough energy. However, there is an argument that, but maybe we shouldn't be expanding our Bitcoin mining until we have more renewables. And so that's sort of an interesting concept, and it's one that requires a lot of debating. So we'll see. We shall see. Okay. Let's see here. All right, we are just about 3 minutes away now, which is exciting. 3:20 away. Just looking at some of your comments here. Matt, can you see my chat? Well, I could see you chatting. I don't know who Matt is, but I could see it. All right, let's see here. All right. ETC or sorry, ETH or BTC, which one and why? I personally think there's a balance that you could really benefit from, having a balance on both sides. So that's probably the direction that I would go, is finding some kind of proper distribution between the two. I think they each have very strong benefits and reasons. I can't say anything horribly bad about one more than the other. They each have their pros and cons. All right. Okay. Now, I do want to, if I could ask you really quick, I want to ask you if you could help me answer a poll really quick while we wait. We've got 2 minutes to go before the event begins. So we're 2 minutes away. I would love to have your insight into this. When you hear Meet Kevin, what is your first impression? What do you think of? Do you think of one, a product? Two, Kevin Paffrath. Person. Kevin Paffrath. Person. A product, thing. Or three, a service, something you get. What's a short way I could say that? A service or something. How long are we away? We're 1 minute away. Okay, good. A service, or I guess a service. A service you receive. Well, that's fair. Okay. Curious to see what you guys think. What is your first impression? What do you think of? A product, thing, Kevin Paffrath, the person, or a service you receive? It's very interesting. I'm curious to see what you all think. All right. So, yeah. People say just use your real Nexus. It's not a matter of me using my real name, in case you're wondering. We are going to use my real name. We're going to use Meet Kevin Paffrath, right? That is my real name. Kevin Paffrath is my real name. Meet Kevin is a nickname, but I want to know, does a nickname in my case, is that a product, a service, or does it refer to Kevin Paffrath, right? That's the big question. So do you think when you hear Meet Kevin, do you think, oh my gosh, that's the guy who's going to come do my dry cleaning or clean my carpets, right? Do you think that? Or do you think, oh, Meet Kevin, that's the best coffee ever? Or do you think, oh, Meet Kevin, that guy on YouTube, right? What do you think?
We have an informed discussion. The B Word is a Bitcoin-focused initiative that aims to correct mainstream narratives about Bitcoin, explain how institutions can embrace it, and raise awareness around areas of the network that need support.
Why does this intro music sound like it's trying to brainwash us? I'm sorry, you're going to get that kind of commentary from me.
Join us in our effort to support the Bitcoin network.
Okay, let's get to it. I'm going to kill the music because it's just going to end up demonetizing me. All right, look at that. We got some disclosures here. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to the B Word. I'm Steve Lee, the lead of Square Crypto, and I'm here today to moderate a discussion about Bitcoin that will span from what makes it special to its relationship with energy, the community ethos, and the future of Bitcoin. I'm joined by three special guests. The first is Cathie Wood, founder, CEO, and CIO of ARK Invest. Next is Elon Musk, techno king of Tesla and chief engineer of SpaceX. And finally, Jack Dorsey, CEO of Square and CEO of Twitter. So we have a lot to talk about today. So let's get to the talk and get right to it.
Let's do it.
I'm going to start off by asking each of you a question, which is, what what's shaped and influenced your views on Bitcoin? And let's start with Cathie.
Okay, Steve, thank you. Well, the first thing was our focus on disruptive innovation. So starting in 2011, Brett Winton, our director of research, who I know will be on the program later, he started talking about this thing called Bitcoin at the time. And it was a curiosity as we were doing our brainstorms in research. But as we learned more about this open source ecosystem, that might fulfill the role of the payment system that the internet neglected to build into the system, not expecting commerce. We thought, this might be something. And then I became even more interested when I realized that my economics would come into play as well here. And Art Laffer, my mentor from USC, and a monetary scholar, in 2014, I asked him if he would collaborate on a paper on Bitcoin. And he was a bit of a naysayer at first, but agreed to read the paper. He read the paper, tore it up, and from an economics point of view, really wanted to understand this. And he said, I think you got something here. This is a rules-based monetary system. I've been waiting for this for my entire career. So the combination of disruptive innovation generally, economics on top of that, and the huge misunderstanding out there as to what this is, that was intriguing and launched our research effort.
Thank you. Elon, what's influenced your views on Bitcoin?
Well, I've thought about money for quite a while, obviously since the PayPal days. And then the companies that preceded that, X.com, which I created, and Confinity, which Peter Thiel, Max Levchin, Luke Howry, and others created. When we combined the companies and made PayPal. So I've been thinking about money for a long time. And really, it's best to think of money as an information system, primarily an information system for labor allocation. For practical purposes, it exists in a series of heterogeneous databases, like very different databases in bank mainframes around the world. It moves quite slowly in reality. It seems to move fast sometimes, and it does with PayPal, which is real time. But the vast majority of the systems out there are batch processing. So the actual reconciliation may take 1 to 5 business days, sometimes longer. And you have the ACH system, which is ancient and still in operation, which allows transfers effectively like a check would be an ACH transfer, but it's not secure. And you've got the credit card systems, which are also not secure. It would be like handing your username and password to a stranger in a restaurant if you buy a meal. So
that's an
there's
interesting
definitely an opportunity for something that is better from an information theory standpoint. So and there you can think of it like data on a network. I think is the way to view it. What has the most throughput? What has the least error? What drops the fewest packets? Fraud, for example, being a source of error, and the government interference in currencies being a source of error. But it's fundamentally an information system. So I think it makes sense to support something that improves the quality of information with which we conduct the economy. And Bitcoin is a candidate for that. It does, I think, some things well, and it's evolving, and there are additional things like Lightning being done on top of Bitcoin. But Bitcoin per se is mostly solving for scarcity, or rather solving for essentially having no throat to choke, decentralized. So there's no one who can be coerced in any way to empty their Bitcoin account. Well, I guess they could technically, but on an individual basis, but the system as a whole cannot. And it has an open ledger, which is also quite good. But transaction volume is low. Transaction cost is high, and usability for the average person is not yet very good, but it has a lot of potential. And I should say that, like, I'm not, and I apologize for taking a long time, but there certainly is a lot to say. In general, I'm a supporter of Bitcoin and the idea of corporate currency in general. But as I've said publicly, we do need to watch out for crypto taking, especially Bitcoin, using proof of work to maybe use energy that's maybe a bit too much and not necessarily good for the environment. So, but on balance, I support Bitcoin, and I'm not an investor. The only publicly traded stock I own is Tesla, and the only significant thing I own outside of Tesla is my SpaceX stock that helped create both companies. So, but apart from that, I do own Bitcoin, and Tesla owns Bitcoin, SpaceX owns Bitcoin, and I do personally own a bit of Ethereum and Dogecoin, of course.
Ooh, look at that!
Okay,
Shout
great.
out to
Thank you.
Doge.
And we'll get into some of those issues in more depth as well. Jack, how about you? What shaped your views of Bitcoin?
The network and the community. It's
Here's Doge.
it's deeply principled. It's weird as hell.
Look at Doge.
It's always evolving, and it just reminded me of the internet when I was a kid. And I encountered alt cypherpunks when I was fairly young, and this was a topic of discussion for years. I didn't touch it until 2008 when we started Square. Elon and teams at X and PayPal inspired a lot of what we were trying to do, trying to bring in more to a physical world. But we encountered this crazy predatory system that was slow, that was obtuse. And I think, one of the things that we tried to do, which X and PayPal also tried to do, is build an abstraction layer around this complication and around this predatory nature that the financial industry can tend to be, and make it work for people. But when I saw Bitcoin in 2009, you see a chance to replace the whole foundation. And everything that Elon was talking about in terms of ACH and the credit card networks were built with very different agendas in a very different time frame. And it's crazy that they still exist, and they have scaled, but they just are not relevant to today, and they're certainly not relevant to the future, especially when you consider the entire world and countries like Nigeria or Ghana or India, and its interconnection with countries like the United States and Canada and all over Europe. So what really drove my thinking and drives my passion around it is, like, if the internet gets a chance to get a native currency, what will that be? And to me, it's Bitcoin because of those principles, because of that creation story, because of its resilience, because of the number of tests it's been. But what inspires me the most is just the community driving it. It just reminds me of the early internet. It's the only reason that I have a career, because I learned so much from people like who are building Bitcoin today, and I continue to learn in that sense, and I'm so grateful for it.
That's a good segue into the next question I'd like to ask you, Jack, is you said before that Bitcoin changes everything. Can you speak more to that?
Well, I just think that a lot of what we experience in life, when you really get down to the foundation, a lot of our monetary policies, a lot of our monetary systems cause so much distraction and so much cost. And when you get to a system where you have the potential for people to truly own it, they can verify it themselves. You don't have to have trust going in. You don't have to trust it at all. You can verify it through source code or whatever your appetite is, and that any particular person can help drive the future of it. And at the same time, it's not controlled by any state. It's not controlled by any bank. It's not controlled by any corporation. And these three parties of people who participate in the network, people who mine, and also the developers, constantly debating the correct roadmap and the way forward, is a beautiful thing. And I don't know of many other consensus-based models that have existed at that scale for this long with this amount of success, and we're still fairly early. So when, I met a woman in Ethiopia 2 years ago, and she was trying to create the lift for Ethiopia. Elon, I think I reached out to you at that time as well because she really wanted some Teslas. She still has to take paper fiat cash from her passengers and pay all of her drivers in the same way because there's no monetary system that she can utilize. There's nothing digital. And Africa as a continent is hugely interconnected from a monetary standpoint, but also hugely taxed in that same way. So a lot of the potential that I see, the internet having a native currency helps her build her business in a much faster way. And also, if you consider something like Bitcoin existing before YouTube, before Twitter, before Facebook, a lot of the business models that we have today would not be the same. We would certainly not have the dependency we have upon the advertising business model if Bitcoin existed pre-Twitter. And I think the amount of business models that it enables, the amount of innovation it enables going forward, especially when you can consider the whole internet instead of going country by country by country by country, which you have to whenever you're doing with finance, it really just opens the aperture. And that is what I want to see in my lifetime is a currency that is standard and sound for the internet that everyone can use.
Great. A hallmark of Bitcoin is its fixed supply of 21 million coins. Elon referenced that earlier. It may be the first system that humans have created that humans cannot later change. Cathie, I'm curious, with your background in monetary history and macroeconomics, what are your thoughts on that type of system?
Oh, well, I'll recount the story about Art Laffer and our going through the paper. And he said, as I said, first rules-based monetary system, global, ever. This is a very big idea. Once we had convinced him of the ecosystem itself. Now, this is the role that it's playing, given that the rule is a quantity rule, that 21 million units, is really a store of value role. So there are three roles of money. Store of value, very important. The means of exchange, so for transactions, and the unit of account. So every good priced in terms.
Did anybody really write much down from Jack Dorsey?
So store of value is its primary use right now. The others exist. Unit of account, reserve currency of the crypto asset ecosystem. That's being seeded a little bit towards stable coins right now. But the store of value is a very big role. And means of exchange with apps built on top of the Bitcoin blockchain, we think is going to become more of a reality. Right now, high value transactions take place over Bitcoin, and that is a very useful role. So we look at those, and I remember saying to Art, "How big could this be?" And he said, "Well, how big is the U.S. monetary base?" Well, today it's $8 trillion. $8 trillion. At the time we were talking, it was $4 trillion. So we've gone through another crisis since then. And so the store of value, this idea that purchasing power will go up over time if demand rises relative to supply. Supply ultimately fixed at 21 million units. That's a very good thing. Purchasing power going up globally around the world. And this idea that it's a hedge against confiscation of wealth. And that can take place in a myriad of ways. But inflation, and especially hyperinflation in emerging markets, is the primary way. Talk about destroying purchasing power. So that's a very big idea. And I'll also mention deflation. In some ways, it's a hedge against deflation. I know some people are confused that we at ARC think that we're in a deflationary environment here in the United States. If that is true, the odds of a hyperinflation in the rest of the world, especially in emerging markets, is also true. So, but this deflation, and we learned from 0809, there's counterparty risk associated with deflation. And I think Bitcoin would be a hedge against that eventuality as well.
Well, that's
so it's
interesting.
a very big idea.
Wow. She's basically saying, hey, if we have deflation, other countries might have hyperinflation, and that would be good for Bitcoin. Because one of the concerns we've had is if we have deflation, do you need that inflation hedge in Bitcoin? She's basically saying yes, because if you have deflation in the United States, it means you have hyperinflation somewhere else potentially. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like just simple example. If I happen to be in Ghana and my family is in Nigeria, currently I can take anywhere from and I need to send money back, anywhere from 10 to 30% off the top just to send that money back. Whereas if you just focus on the worldwide remittance problem, Bitcoin solves so many of those problems today instantly without having to go through any intermediaries or any slowness or complicated systems that a corporation or state created. So I think having sound money that is separate from the state is the idea. Having it completely verifiable by everyone, including the state, including corporations, including individuals, including developers who want to build on top of it, is quite powerful, and that's what keeps it secure and strong. And I think that's we need more of that, which is why this one of the reasons why this conversation is so important is as entities come into the space, it's not just buying an asset and holding on to an asset and treating it as an investment. There's something special that created this, and something precious and something very unique, which has to be protected, and we need to do whatever we can to help that thrive as well.
Elon, I'm curious your opinion on this. You mentioned earlier about Bitcoin's throughput, or the importance of throughput, maybe some concerns around Bitcoin. Can you speak? Do you think Bitcoin can become peer-to-peer cash?
Well, Bitcoin does have a fundamental scarcity limit at the base layer that's designed in. That doesn't mean you can't have some layer 2 system in theory like Lightning. And I understand Lightning is doing well in some small countries. There's some question mark as to whether you need a money transmitter license. Just a debate as to whether that's needed, given that it is not open ledger. So that's a whole separate debate, of course. But Bitcoin by itself simply cannot scale to be the monetary system for the world at base layer. But with a second layer, this is possible depending upon how that second layer is implemented. Yeah, that's part of why I think there may be some merit to something that may seem silly, like Ethereum, like Dogecoin. I think Ethereum also, like I said, the three things I own outside of SpaceX and Tesla, and obviously it's a Neuralink and Boring Company, but of any significance are Bitcoin by far, and then some Ethereum and some Doge. So if the price of Bitcoin goes down, I lose money. I'm not sort of, I might pump, but I don't dump. So
I don't know if that was good.
It's not a case of.
Oh gosh, Elon, he should not have said that.
Getting the price high, selling, or anything like that. And I would like to see Bitcoin succeed.
Oh my gosh.
I think there's some merit to. This is not a slam on Bitcoin. There's some merit to considering something that has higher max transaction rates. And lower transaction cost, and kind of seeing how far you could take a single layer network where the exchanges act as a de facto second layer. I think you can probably take that further than people realize, and as bandwidth increases over time, latency decreases. SpaceX's Starlink is actually playing a role in this. And I think long term, people will probably have, access to
I just tweeted that, by the way. I think that's not going to be good.
at low latency, and so at low cost. And so then, your base layer could do a lot of transactions if you take that into account. So yeah, but like I said, Bitcoin with a layer 2 system certainly could scale to do a vast number of transactions. Same goes for Ethereum.
Question about the scaling at the layer 1. The concern from the past 5 years of debate in the Bitcoin community is that would sacrifice too much decentralization and hurt the censorship-resistant properties of Bitcoin. I'm curious if what are your thoughts on that? Are you sensitive to that? And are you concerned about losing some of the special properties of Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency by scaling at layer 1?
Yeah, I mean, these things are, it's helpful to use the physics tools of thinking and say, scale up, scale down, and see if it still makes sense. So if scaling up the transaction block doesn't make sense, why don't you scale it down? And have it be, so that somebody, with a laptop from 2008 can still run a Bitcoin node. Why not slow it down? Oh, you want to slow it down? Well, maybe you're at the wrong number then.
there's actually there's members in the community that do want to slow it down. but I understand your point.
It's silly. The reality is the average person is not going to run a Bitcoin node. So this is and Bitcoin, it was a lot of clever ideas, but these parameters were set, I don't know, in 2008 or something, maybe 2009. And there's been some improvements since then, but not a lot. So, it's sort of like there was still in 2008 there was still a non-trivial number of people on modems. So, now it is quite common to get 100 megabit connection just for a house. Some houses have gigabit connections. So, and that trend is obviously in the direction of higher bandwidth and lower latency. And if somebody else doesn't do it, Starlink certainly will. So I have high confidence that you will be able to maintain a decentralized finance system while still having a much bigger blockchain, aka ASCII text ledger, a hash ledger. You can make the hash ledger bigger without suffering from decentralization as the average connectivity improves, obviously.
Oh, Doge back down.
One idea would be to to put a Bitcoin full node in Starlink terminals. That way more people would be running.
5-minute chart now.
Actually, I have run this by the team at one point. I had this idea, which is kind of off the wall, but let's say you need a little space heater. And normally your space heater would just be pure entropy.
A mining node.
But what if that space heater was also a Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge mining node? Pick your currency. And so then you'd be heated up, and you would also mine your crypto and have connectivity in one.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I mean, better than running a space heater.
Absolutely. Are there any other, so you're drawn to Dogecoin a little bit. Are there any other gaps in Bitcoin that you see that cause you to be drawn towards Dogecoin?
Oh, I think, I think there's Doge has, the Doge community, I think, has, it's somewhat irreverent, obviously, and has great memes and loves dogs, and I love dogs and memes. And it doesn't take itself too seriously. I think there's Occam's razor, which is the simplest answer is the most likely.
Look what I just tweeted.
It's a summary of Occam's razor. The simplest answer is the most likely one. Then there's a friend of mine came up with a variant on that the most ironic outcome is the most likely one. And then I have a variant on that, which is the most entertaining outcome is the most likely one. So if that is true, then the most ironic and entertaining outcome would be that the cryptocurrency that was started as a joke to make fun of cryptocurrencies ends up being the leading cryptocurrency. That would be the most ironic outcome. Yeah.
Jack, what are your thoughts on that? Is Bitcoin resilient enough to overcome that?
I think it's resilient, but also I think like you find, I mean, that's what attracts me to Bitcoin in the first place is the irreverence. A lot of that just brings it forward, and you know, at first go, it makes it a little bit inaccessible, but as people get into it, it makes it more accessible and more spreadable. And I absolutely think the resilience is there. I think it's important to have fun as well. And anyway, folks can express themselves. I think that goes back to the main idea of like, how do we create a native currency for the internet? Anything that goes towards that path, like that's whatever wackiness or fun we can have along the way. That's going to make it a lot more enjoyable, and it's going to make a lot more people want to use it.
I'd also point out there's nothing stopping someone from creating a Bitcoin wallet that's like fun and has memes, has dogs. That's possible as well. Great. Let's move on.
Right now at this point.
Let's move on to the next topic, which is Bitcoin and energy. It's a really hot topic that lots of people are talking about. Let's start with Elon. You've been vocal on this. You've said that. I mean, you said many things about it. You've also said that Tesla will resume payments in Bitcoin payments if the renewable energy is approximately 50% and sort of looks like it's on a positive future trend. What do you think the state of things are with respect to that?
Yeah, so I do think that there appears to be a positive trend in the energy usage of Bitcoin. Actually, part of this is due to the drop in Bitcoin price. What I observed, or what I thought I was seeing, there may be some disagreements on this, but from when Tesla announced that it had acquired Bitcoin and was doing Bitcoin transactions, there was a massive run-up in the Bitcoin price, and also a massive increase in the amount of energy used to mine Bitcoin. And I think I understand renewable energy quite a bit. I mean, Tesla does solar and interacts with a lot of wind generation through our mega pack, because basically need to store energy from wind and from solar. So we're pretty plugged into the renewable energy industry. And there's just no way that you could basically double or triple the amount of energy in such a short period of time with renewables. You could shovel coal that fast. And so I was like, look, this is too sketchy. Tesla's mission is accelerating the advent of sustainable energy. We can't be the company that does that and also not do appropriate diligence on the energy usage of Bitcoin. So all I did was I said, look, we're going to suspend Bitcoin transactions for now. We're not selling any Bitcoin, nor am I selling anything personally, nor is SpaceX selling any Bitcoin. Again, I want to emphasize SpaceX, Tesla, and I own Bitcoin. I also own a little bit of Ethereum and Doge, but the companies just own Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin that I own is worth much more than the Ethereum or Doge. So clearly, if I'm, if these actions negatively affect me financially, if I was purely financially motivated, then I would not express this reticence about Bitcoin energy usage. Now, it looks like Bitcoin is shifting a lot more towards renewables, and a bunch of the heavy-duty coal plants that were being used, unequivocally being used, this is not a question mark, have been shut down, especially in China. So I think it's probably, we want to do a little bit more diligence to confirm could confirm that the percentage of renewable energy usage is most likely sort of at or above 50%, and that there is a trend towards increasing that number. And if so, then Tesla will resume Bitcoin, accepting Bitcoin. Yeah. So I think we want to just do a little bit more diligence, and I think, but most likely the answer is that Tesla would resume accepting Bitcoin. Most likely.
Good to hear. I would
Steve,
agree with that. Kathy?
Yeah, may I ask a question? Elon, I'm not quite sure if you saw the paper that Square and ARC did together on making Bitcoin mining a part of a utility, a broad-based utility ecosystem, whereby, the overage from sunshine or wind powers the Bitcoin mining machine, thereby enabling the proliferation of renewables to a much faster extent, or at a faster rate than otherwise would be the case. What do you think of that?
I love it.
Well, the problem is that in order to operate so-called mining or hashing rigs, in order to operate a bunch of hashing rigs, effectively, you have to run them 24/7, which means you need base load. You can do that with solar and wind plus battery, but if you only did it based on solar wind overage, your hashing rig utilization would be much less. So you'd be at a disadvantage.
Sure,
hydro or geothermal are great as renewable means. I'm also pro nuclear. I think modern nuclear power plants are safe, contrary to what people may think.
I agree with them.
So, I really think it's possible to make very, very extremely safe nuclear. I'm talking about fission. You don't need fusion. And then, of course, fusion. You just got that big fusion reactor in the sky called the sun. Comes up every day. But I think a combination of solar and wind plus stationary storage will get you that base load, so you can run hashing 24/7.
Nice.
Jack, I'm curious. You've stated that Bitcoin incentivizes renewable energy. That's what we're talking about now. Do you have any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, everything that Elon said and Cathie mentioned, but it's also incentivizing a lot of innovation in just energy space, and just like looking at unused energy. There's a company called Great American Mining that caps the methane flares on oil fields to power their rigs. And you just imagine, and you mentioned nuclear, Elon, as well, and just imagine all the unused energy that is just being wasted every single day. And being able to get that energy and converting it into a secure, sound money system for the planet feels like a worthy trade-off. And that's the sort of incentive that I think is most powerful. Is like, how do we reuse what is being currently just dumped on the ground and wasted and not considered, and how do we do that at scale? And I think that's a bigger conversation that I think is missing. But I agree with everything that Elon has said, and also the paper we put forth.
I'm curious if any of you have thoughts on how what the industry can do to accelerate the transition to renewable energy. And like Elon specifically, could Tesla Energy or Starlink play a role?
Well, I think Tesla can play a role. Tesla's literal reason for existence. The reason I've put so much of my life energy into Tesla, which is a lot. In fact, I would say that I've had some pretty tough life experiences, and Tesla is responsible for probably 2/3 of all personal and professional pain combined. Just to give you a sense of perspective there. So this is a hella hard situation. But we do solar, commercial solar, solar retrofit, as well as the solar roof, and we make consumer battery packs called Powerwall for houses and small businesses, and then the utility scale, which are gigantic. These we've done now a number of gigawatt-hour installations. That's a lot. And a lot of them actually have been for load leveling the grid. Mostly they are. and combined with like the first really big one we did, which is 100 megawatt installation in Australia. That actually helped stabilize a huge portion of the South Australian grid because it's able to react so fast. In fact, at first, because they've got a billing system in Australia that I think works at the sort of millisecond level, and we were operating at the microsecond level. So the system was operating so fast that the measuring system couldn't see it. But so Tesla's certainly doing a lot to enable renewables, especially wind and solar. And in fact, the limiting factor for us right now is cell production. So we need to both internally get the Tesla internal battery cells produced, as well as increase supply from suppliers. Generally, when I talk to our suppliers, they say, how many cells would you like? I say, how many cells can you make?
Yes.
Because sometimes they're like concerned, like, well, Tesla going to compete with them on cells. I'm like, no. If you want to make the cells, be our guest. It's just that we need a crazy number of batteries, and they need to be done. It also needs to be mined and produced and manufactured in an ethical and environmentally sound way. So, at Tesla, we really do aspire to be the good guys, like, to be a company that people can believe in. That doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, but that's what we try. So,
the top guy on the left is the moderator, in case you're wondering.
Generally, hydro, especially existing hydro, is good for mining. Geothermal, there's lots of places in the world that have geothermal energy. Like I said, nuclear is also good. I think just I'm like as I said earlier, the expectation is not like
vape.
That the energy production must be pure as the driven snow, but it must it can't be using. It also cannot be using the world's dirtiest coal, which was for a moment there. That's just difficult for Tesla to support in that situation. So I think, but I do think long-term renewable energy will actually be the cheapest form of energy. It just doesn't happen overnight. But as long as there is a conscious and determined and real effort by the mining community to move towards renewables, then obviously Tesla can support that.
That's great. Cathie, we've been talking a lot about energy, but many institutions are facing questions around Bitcoin's relationship with ESG. Can you maybe speak a little bit more to what is S and G in ESG and how Bitcoin might support those?
Sure. So E, of course, is environmental, S is social, and G is governance. And there is a massive movement afoot in the institutional world, especially, to embrace ESG and make sure that their asset managers are doing the same. So if we've just talked about environmental, and I really do believe that Bitcoin will be much more environmentally friendly, certainly than traditional gold mining or the traditional financial services sector. In many ways, it already is, and it's just going to get better that way. In terms of social, I know that many institutions, when they are thinking of social, they think of diversity and equity, pay equity, and all of that. But if from our point of view, the disruptive innovation point of view, social is much more than that. It is saving lives, of course, autonomous technology, that would be another topic for Elon. But in this case, allowing access to payment technology, as Jack is saying, everywhere around the world without friction. And just back to the remittance example, I think if I've got these stats correctly, there are certain countries in the world that are incredibly dependent on remittances for GDP. To Tonga, 37%, El Salvador, which just deemed Bitcoin legal currencies, 24%, Nepal, 24%. And I think the remittance industry globally, I know roughly 700 billion. So saving people these egregious fees, think about it, you're paying anywhere from 8% to, as Jack said, 30% of your $100 that you're sending back to your family. That is social responsibility, I would submit, as is just the economic empowerment that Bitcoin will enable. We've talked about that already. And I know that Alex Gladstein is going to be talking later about, the 4.3 billion people in the world who are hostage to authoritarian regimes, or the 1.3 billion who are living in double-digit and triple-digit inflation, if not more. Saving them from the destruction of their purchasing power certainly is a noble social goal. So we expand social to be much more than the traditional ESG community. And then on governance, you've got the transparency of the ecosystem. It's completely transparent, unlike the opaqueness of financial systems and the toll takers in the traditional financial world. And I think a huge part of governance in the Bitcoin ecosystem are the Bitcoin core developers. Now, before I met them, and I've had the pleasure and the honor of meeting many of them, that was a part of this ecosystem I didn't understand. But actually getting to sit down and talk to them, if I have a learning curve need, it certainly is on the technology side. But in terms of talking to them about economics, economic theory, failed monetary regimes historically, they know economic history, many of them, better than anyone I've ever met. So that gives me a great degree of confidence that, they do believe they are on a noble mission. They could be paid a lot more than they're being paid right now if they worked at Google or Facebook or some of these other areas. But they've chosen, this sense of purpose for a noble goal. And they have incredibly strong technology backgrounds. As well as a good understanding of economic history, especially monetary history. And it gives me a great deal of comfort as I think about the governance of the ecosystem, much more so than I think we would find in other financial ecosystems. And just to give you an example of that, I think 2 years, we were talking about, there's a big debate about reorganizations, I know, in the Ethereum network right now. Well, we saw the core Bitcoin developers and others at work back in 2019 when Binance tried to reorganize in order to reclaim 7,000 Bitcoin that were hacked. And they just wouldn't allow it. So we've already had some very good tests of the Bitcoin ecosystem, including developers. So that would be my answer.
Thank you. And it's a great transition to the next topic area, which is Bitcoin ethos. And what is Bitcoin ethos? I mean, Bitcoin was born as open source and it's very transparent. There's also a staunch defense from the community around.
Let's look at the sticks for a moment here. Looks like not much movement here while they're getting ready to ask the next question here. Some people wondering, is it buy the rumor, sell the news? I don't even know if pricing today has anything to do with this event, but we'll see.
Done, and what advice you'd have for other institutions looking to follow in its footsteps?
Yeah, I mean, I was very skeptical of corporations when I was a kid, and I'm still skeptical of corporations today. And as we've used corporations to be, they've been great vessels for what we need to do and the ideas that we need to bring to the world. But, Bitcoin is not that. And when we were considering Bitcoin and how Square intersected, I was really concerned with how we don't disrupt the community in a negative way, how we promote what is amazing about it, and how we help it grow in that way, in the way that it wants to. So we created your team, Steve, which is Square Crypto, which is hiring open source developers to work on whatever they want and whatever they think is most important to help Bitcoin. We created an organization called COPO, which we gave up all of our crypto patents so that the community can use them in defense against trolls and some crazy characters we won't name. And we continue to find ways that, like, following that Bitcoin path, we're going to create a hardware wallet. We're probably going to do a lot more in hardware. Everything that we do in the space is going to be completely open source, from the hardware design to the software, taking in the community's push. And we're building a developer platform as well in the same open development, open source, and completely transparent. So I think as institutions or companies like ours consider getting in the space, I think contribution back to the community is important. Tesla did this with accepting payments for Tesla and finding security holes and improving the stack. And as I said before, we can't just see this as an asset that we own and an investment vehicle. This is something that has the potential to change everything and make the lives of everyone on this planet better in some small, maybe marginal way, but those margins will be meaningful as it compounds over time.
Great. Elon, you've tweeted before that any wallet that doesn't give the user their private key should be avoided at all costs. Can you tell us more about why is that important, and how does what's its relationship with decentralization?
Well, it's difficult to say that if you own crypto in an exchange and the exchange does not give you your private keys, it's not clear that you own anything. I mean, if there's something that, if that exchange breaks or is hacked or or is subject to seizure by the government or something like that, your crypto is gone. So in order to actually have a properly decentralized finance, which I'm a fan of, I think it makes sense, then you have to own your private keys. And you should be the only one who has your private keys. So if you're the only one who has the private keys, then you own it. If someone else has your private keys, effectively they own it too. And the security of your crypto is then dependent upon them or any entity that can affect them. So yeah, I think what Jack's doing sounds like a good idea to have a hardware wallet that's the only thing that contains your private keys. I think that's like in terms of sort of empowering the people, which I very much believe in. Then I think you want to have people have their own wallets and be the only ones that have the private keys to that wallet. So-called wallet, the other side of the crypto.
I agree, and I think we'll see an emergence too of new solutions that use multi-sig, like with a 2 or 3 keys, where the user has 2 keys and then you get assisted custody by having an institution hold a 3rd key. Can be a good solution as well. Yeah.
Well, you can just put your private key in something that has dual access or voting access as an application on an existing network.
Right. So the Bitcoin community is known for staunchly defending Bitcoin's principles. Sometimes it can be rude and aggressive, but I think what it stems from is just a desire to not have wealthy or powerful people or institutions negatively impacting Bitcoin or sort of changing the rules in favor of them. I'm curious to hear from each of you what role you feel like you and your own institutions, your own companies, what role can you play in Bitcoin, and how do you positively impact it without having these negative drawbacks? Cathie, maybe start with you.
Sure. Yes. Well, ARC has stood for 2 things: democratization and transparency. Democratize it. We're the closest you'll find to a venture capital fund in the public equity markets, and I kind of feel that Bitcoin, or we have Bitcoin's DNA from that point of view. So one of the things in terms of democratization is education. We have one of our missions, values, is to educate, and I do believe that that some of Yassine El-Mandra's white papers, Yassine's our lead crypto analyst, who's worked very closely with you, Steve, on this conference, are helping the cause. We've done, and not only for retail investors, we found that we had to do a bit more when it came to institutional investors, just because of the way that they invest and the way they like to receive information. So just like in our investments, we've been, the retail community has been more attracted to us first, and now the institutional community is coming along. So I do think our transparency of research, especially in the social world, social media, pushing our research out for free to anyone, is part of our way of helping the community. And I do think encouraging, and this is something that Jack just said, I would encourage the support of the Bitcoin core developer community. As I said before, it's amazing to me, having gotten to know some of them, how strong their sense of purpose is here. And so we'd like to be helpful in making that happen as well.
That's great. Jack, how about you? How do you view your own personal role and the companies you run?
I think my own personal role through the companies I run is to really push for more decentralization. Like everything that we intend to do with the wallet, being non-custodial, building a developer platform, focusing on non-custodial solutions. On the Square side is important, being completely open development and open source. But I also think it's important on the Twitter side as well. My biggest focus right now is on a decentralized social media protocol. We're calling it Blue Sky. It's super, super early, but we've learned a lot from what makes Bitcoin Bitcoin and why that's important. I've learned a lot in that sense as well. And I think, just continuing to push on that thread and show it with our actions every single day in support of this community that's taught me so much and I think will benefit so many people. And that's what I'm focused on.
What about letting Twitter advertisers pay in crypto?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think enabling anyone. As you know, Elon, if we had Bitcoin or native currency for the internet before Twitter started, it just creates so many different business models that we wouldn't have to be so dependent upon advertising generally. And sure. I do believe that that we have them, any form of payment that they want to use, we should be able to take. So okay. Absolutely, but I'm more focused on how do we create economic incentives in the network itself without having to rely on advertising.
Yeah, it's just that the money has to come off of the crypto so-called coins, the hash strings have to come off and get translated into real products and services. So the more sort of off-ramps there are to real products and services, even at the institutional level, although there are certainly many small advertisers on Twitter, it seems like accepting Bitcoin, maybe some other cryptos for advertising payments on Twitter would be supportive of Bitcoin.
100%, and also looking at just general commerce through Twitter itself.
Okay.
Sorry, what, Elon?
I was asking Jack if he's going to do it.
Oh. Can we get a product announcement today? Elon, how about you? You obviously you're a big personality on Twitter. What are your thoughts on your role and your company's role in Bitcoin and sort of preserving the ethos?
I generally think we should do things that benefit the people as a whole, and increase the probability that the future is good. So, I think to me it just seems self-evident that we should kind of take these set of actions most likely to make the future good. And I think probably crypto, or some of the cryptocurrencies will make the future better, most likely. It's not, I always think of these things in terms of probabilities, but I think it's probably better for there to be
probably make the future better.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, maybe some others in the future, and I think it can have an empowering effect for individuals, and increase the power of the individual relative to government. And really, if you think of government is just a corporation in the limit. So sometimes some people are like against corporations but for government. It's like, guys, government is just a corporation in the limit. It's the biggest corporation of all, and it's got a monopoly on violence. So if you don't like corporations, you should really hate government.
Ooh.
There you go. All right. We got about, we'll try to wrap up in 10 minutes. So let's move on to future of Bitcoin. So Tesla and Square have both put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Cathie, I'm curious to hear from you. What advice would you have for other institutions looking to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet?
Well, I guess the first piece of advice is, just make sure, and I actually learned this after both Square and Tesla put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. The Bitcoin is being treated as an intangible asset. And so we need to get FASB to reconsider this, because with an intangible asset, if the asset goes up in price, it can't be marked up on their books. But if it goes down, it must be marked down. So, there's some asymmetry there, which is, we need to change that given what we believe Bitcoin is.
Because otherwise Tesla's price is going to go down, is what she's saying.
I believe if I'll harken back to something, well, it was either Elon or Jack said, think about it, you take away the boundaries, the different currencies, just think about how explosive growth could be and how wide reaching taking the friction out of the system could be. So I would encourage corporations to think about that this ability to do business anywhere in the world, ultimately, obviously, we're paving the way here. That's certainly a consideration. It also will serve as a hedge against inflation, especially, and as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of emerging markets that are suffering from significant inflation. In other words, the purchasing power of those populations is going down. So they are going to migrate to Bitcoin and other ways to preserve purchasing power. And again, being able to sell to them in that kind of currency would be very useful. It also suggests, once again, this idea of deflation, I think, is going to be a real thing. There's going to be good deflation caused by innovation, so demand will boom because of that. There's going to be bad deflation because so many companies out there have not been investing enough in innovation. Their products are going to go obsolete, and they're going to be stuck trying to service the debt that they piled on because their shareholders wanted profits and wanted them now. So they leveraged up to buy back their shares and pay dividends, and so I think that's going to be the source of bad deflation and counterparty risk. And we learned from 08-09 that counterparty risk can be devastating, almost cataclysmic. So a hedge against that as well, I think, would be another reason to do it.
Yeah, it's funny. It kind of like Tesla's bank balances in Europe have negative interest rates. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, if you've got like 2% inflation on 1% interest, you're technically minus 1% return. But nonetheless, it is quite annoying to just see your bank balance drop in real time in Europe. Europe has negative interest rates. This is insane.
Paying the banks,
What?
paying the banks to hold.
Pay the bank to keep
Yeah.
your money. I'm like, what?
It is crazy.
Like, what? We should definitely move that into Bitcoin.
I believe Ray Dalio said buy Bitcoin and not bonds. So there you go.
Mhm.
Jack, you've talked about design being an underfunded area in Bitcoin. And Elon earlier mentioned, usability could improve a lot. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. What do you see as the future of how can design impact Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Bitcoin network is beautifully designed as a protocol in the way it works. I mean, it went after a single problem, and it does in an absolutely astounding way. But I think the endpoint of people getting into it is still a little bit confusing. So I think the more energy we spend on wallets and making sure that wallets are simple and accessible and they're non-custodial as well. I think the best example of this is that I know of is probably this wallet called Moon.
Moon.
And it's just simple, straightforward. It's a great. It does an amazing thing with key management that my mom and friends new to Bitcoin can understand. Does amazing in storage, and it also has a very clever implementation of Lightning, so that you can use it in a transactional way without having to think about it. Just with QR codes in a way that makes sense. So more work like that, I think, really brings us forward.
Great. Let's wrap things up with a final question for each of you. I guess what is your hope for Bitcoin? How it can impact the world? Let's see, Elon, do you want to start with that? So what's your hope? What's your hope for Bitcoin?
Well, my hope for I guess crypto in general is that it can improve the efficiency of the information system that we call money. So if the core efficiency of money is improved and money has less error, where, like I said, error is like in any kind of government interference or fraud or anything like that, this will naturally lead to basically a better standard of living and more power to the individual, which I very much agree with.
Great. Cathie?
Yeah, and I would segue from what Elon just said is, money has powerful network effect qualities. And so, we talked about ESG earlier. I think that, of course, that aspiration, having, this money be the best from an ESG point of view, that's really talking about solving some of the world's problems right now, which we definitely want to do. But I also am very excited about this idea of network effect and the convergence of blockchain technology and artificial intelligence from a technology point of view. I think, think about the internet in the earliest days. We couldn't imagine what was going to happen, but the impetus to growth was pretty incredible. So I am looking at this rules-based monetary policy, making for better lives around the world, as we've just said. But I'm also looking at the technology itself and the convergence between blockchain technology and artificial intelligence, to change the world in ways that we cannot imagine right now, solving even more problems, but creating more opportunities as well, which is the history of technology and disruptive innovation.
Jack, what's your hope for Bitcoin?
My hope is that it creates world peace or helps create world peace. I mean, Elon said it earlier, we have all these monopolies of violence and the individual doesn't have power. And the amount of cost and distraction that comes from our monetary system today is real. And it takes away attention from the bigger problems, some of the bigger problems that Elon is trying to solve, like get us to a multi-planetary humanity. All these distractions that we have to deal with on a daily basis take away from those bigger goals that affect every single person on this planet, increasingly so. So it may sound a little bit ridiculous, but you fix that foundational level and everything above it improves in such a dramatic way. So it's going to be long term, but but my hope is definitely peace.
That's fantastic. Well, I'd like to thank all three of you for giving us your time today. It's been fantastic.
Okay, I'm going to do a recap, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the market close. So let's do a little bit of a quick recap here, and then we'll go market close. I want to look at the sticks with y'all. I want to see what's going on with Bitcoin after this discussion. I mean, we kind of did just look at it. It wasn't much. So we'll do a little bit, little recap, and then move on. So I think it'll be fun. All right, I'm just going to recap some of the most salient points of what just happened at B-Word, the conversation around a Bitcoin that was moderated and included Elon Musk, Cathie Wood, and Jack Dorsey from Twitter and Square. So Cathie Wood, she mentions at the beginning that she first started hearing about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency projects in 2011 and found it to be interesting. And that's kind of when they started doing their research into Bitcoin. That's kind of how she opened up. But more interesting was actually when Elon Musk mentioned that he kind of gave us a little bit of a breakdown of how the existing monetary system works. And he talks about ACH transfers as being not secure and being like checks, which he doesn't think are secure. He doesn't think that credit cards are secure because credit cards are kind of like handing, he said, this was a good one. He says, credit cards are kind of like handing your username and password to a waiter in a restaurant. It was a pretty interesting reference I hadn't thought of before. But I mean, if you think about it, yeah, somebody could just take a picture of your credit card and then go shopping, right? I mean, I suppose they might need the zip code, but quite frankly, you could probably guess in certain areas the zip codes. And then he goes on to say that most banking is just slow and that most transactions are batched and handled over time. And this causes a very slow banking system. It's kind of like what we see with settlement in stocks, is my guess, because in terms of his reference, because in stocks, he sees where we see settlement taking 2 days, right? T+2 settlement timeframes. So that's why we have sometimes this massive lack of transparency when it comes to short interest or borrowed shares versus naked shorts, right? Cathie then talks about how money, and she's talked about this before, but quick recap of what money is. In her opinion, store of value, means of exchange, and unit of account, that you have sort of a balance between these three things, that it's like a triangle, and mentions that, hey, maybe Bitcoin is like a store of value and a unit of account, and maybe Ethereum is kind of like a unit of account and a means of exchange. And you could sort of have a balance between the three things here. She kind of refers to the ultimate unit of account as a stable coin. But what she really seems most interested in is that you can kind of build apps on top of the reality of cryptocurrencies. That basically you can take and build infrastructure or systems on cryptocurrency networks like Ethereum or whatever, and you can solve problems that we actually have. Later, she ends up likening cryptocurrency to the internet. So she's kind of comparing crypto to what the internet was like back in 2000, where we weren't really sure what the internet was going to do for us. But excuse me, oops. I'm choking on myself. But we had a good feeling that the internet was going to do something potentially good or potentially unlock some doors. She has that same feeling now. Now, here is probably the craziest argument, and I haven't heard this one before. This one was crazy in my opinion, but I kind of really liked it, okay? Her argument is that, hey, you know how people are worried about deflation happening in the United States? I'm actually in that boat as well. I think that we're going to see negative inflation next year. And I know 50% of folks aren't. But I've actually thought of that as a little bit concerning potentially for crypto because, well, if we have deflation, then do we no longer need the inflation hedge of crypto, right? And so I've just had that as a concern. And now, don't get me wrong, still investing in crypto. But Cathie's response here was really interesting. She says, look, if we have deflation in the United States, it could actually mean that more people are flowing into the US dollar, and basically the dollar becomes stronger, and that you have yields go down, kind of like you have in Europe, where you have negative yields, and you end up seeing lower prices. And this transition actually ends up leading to potentially hyperinflation in other less stable parts of the world where government regimes and monetary policies just aren't as strong as they potentially are in the United States. So you could be in a situation where you see deflationary pressures in the United States, but hyperinflationary pressures elsewhere. And those hyperinflationary pressures elsewhere might move people into cryptocurrency. That was pretty incredible. Like that I had not thought of that before. So shout out to Cathie for that one. I thought that was pretty cool. But then she also, I'm sorry, then we go to Jack Dorsey, and he kind of mentions that, hey, look, there's going to be a huge, and I think he's sort of piggybacking off what Cathie mentioned here, that there's going to be this huge opportunity for you to transfer money from other foreign countries with cryptocurrency that just isn't possible or easy right now. Elon Musk then got on and he said something he probably shouldn't have said, but he referenced that he might pump, but he doesn't dump cryptocurrencies. I definitely tweeted that because it's pretty notable quote. So follow me at RealMeetKevin on Twitter if you want to like that tweet. But anyway, that was very interesting. And he kind of said this around the same time that he talked about this potential use case of having a crypto mining heater. Now, I thought this was really interesting because a crypto mining heater, like a space heater, might be something that you might plop down and then say, okay, hey, I'm cold in the room because Kevin always keeps it 65 in his studio. You know, I'd like to have a space heater. Let me put my space heater over here, plug it in. And then rather than just, you know, running electricity through coils and creating warmth, why don't we just have that machine be a cryptocurrency miner, whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin or other, and the heat it gives off heats up the space. And so now you have this duality of, hey, you got space heating and a crypto miner. He thought the idea was extreme and kind of far-fetched, and he called it Furnace E. Like, I'm not sure if that's like the childish, like as if you're putting a Y at the end, oh, it's my Furnace E, or if it's like Furnace E with like a capital E for like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, Ethereum, electric, who knows, right? But anyway, that's what he called it. And so he believes that not only are there opportunities for things like this, but he does see a huge shift towards renewables for cryptocurrencies. And he actually thinks that renewables in the future will be a lot less expensive than fossil fuels. Right now, for example, we have, if I was going to build a power plant in California, it would cost me $700 million to do it with natural gas. It would cost about $1.3 billion to do it with solar, and about $1.4 billion to do it with wind. And when you stack up those numbers, you see that we're not quite actually at cost parity yet, which is a problem and is one of the reasons we have right now the majority of cryptocurrency being mined with fossil fuels. Now, I know that there are arguments that, oh, well, 70% of cryptocurrency uses renewables, right? But that is different from how much actually is produced using renewable energy in full. It's kind of like I can have one solar panel on my house and make coffee and air condition my whole house, but just because the solar panel covers 1% of my energy use doesn't mean that everything I've produced is done with renewables, right? Anyway, in fact, right now, I think I'm probably using around 4.5 gigawatts of power, but I'm generating somewhere around 4.2 or 4.3 with my solar panels. So like that ratio is something we want to improve, right? We want to get to a very high ratio of green energy production. And so Elon thinks we're going to get there, especially once we get to better cost parity and we start getting utility scale batteries. This is something that's very important. Cathie Wood asked Elon Musk if Elon Musk saw her report with Square. So ARK Invest and Square did a report about how they could use crypto mining to take advantage of extra energy that comes off of a grid that just isn't used sometimes. It's wasted energy. And this is true. This happens in California a lot, especially. And Elon Musk mentioned that at some point in the future, you can absolutely keep 24-hour mining rigs going with a combination of solar, wind, and batteries. But the problem is, in the Square report with ARK Invest, they mentioned that if it costs somewhere around $1.90 to $2.50 per kilowatt of wind or solar, you're probably sitting around closer to 18 cents a kilowatt hour to have battery storage. So batteries are nowhere near that cost parity yet. And so I know the gap was large. I'm not sure if I'm 100% on those numbers, but anyway, it's in the Square and ARK Invest Bitcoin report. And you could see they literally say one of their big problems right now is bringing costs of batteries down, which now, if you're going to say, okay, well then, so maybe it'll be cheaper and more efficient to mine cryptocurrencies in the future and batteries become more efficient, that's fine, maybe, but here's the problem. Look around at who's competing for batteries right now. Every single electric vehicle is competing for batteries. So you've got this really big issue where right now we're projecting electric vehicle growth to grow exponentially, and we're projecting battery growth to kind of grow more linearly. And so you're going to have this massive lack of supply of batteries, and trying to get utility scale batteries to support crypto mining, It's going to be a while. It's going to take a long time. I agree with Cathie, Elon, and Jack that, hey, yeah, there's the future in crypto. It's like the internet. We don't know yet what it's going to do for us, but we think it's good, and that we're going to go towards more renewables. But there's a lot of work to do to get that cost parity correct. They talked a little bit about how important it is to have your keys on a hardware wallet. Basically, if you don't have your keys, it's not your coin. This is kind of really a slam at companies like Robinhood, or honestly, quite even frankly, Square, where you don't get your keys. Elon did go off into a little bit of a tangent about how he actually thinks that nuclear power is pretty desirable and something that can easily be used and done very safely, even though he believes a lot of people are opposed to nuclear power, but they shouldn't be. He thinks that fission, nuclear reactors are actually a very good thing. Cathie and Jack Dorsey then talked a little bit about the Bitcoin developer community. And Elon Musk also talked a little bit about how, look, ultimately, cryptocurrencies are really here to try to make the future better. And that if for some reason you don't like corporations or you don't like cryptocurrency, then ultimately you shouldn't like corporations. I'm sorry. Let me redo that whole thought here, right? Let me totally mess that thought up. Let me redo that thought here. Elon Musk said, if you don't like corporations, then you probably should hate government, because government is the biggest corporation that exists. And he's using this to make an argument that cryptocurrency is our way of escaping corporation and even the largest possible corporation to exist, the government. He also made some references about how he thought it was weird that he literally before his eyes, he sees savings account balances at Tesla declining in Europe because they charge you to park your money, negative interest rates. And so I think Elon was kind of taking the stance here of like, yeah, no, we're not seeing any inflation. And then we've got Cathie Wood briefly talked about how she believes the gap rules are unfair, that when prices go down, you have to mark your accounting balances down for Bitcoin on your balance sheet, but not up when it goes up. She believes this is unfair, and I think she was really saying this to kind of prep Wall Street for potentially a rough quarter for Tesla, because Tesla's going to have to mark down a large loss for cryptocurrencies, potentially. I think they bought around 35,000, so it's possible that you're going to see a markdown on the Tesla earnings, especially on GAAP earnings, and that could affect like GAAP EPS and such. Okay, good. So that is the summary of what I took away from the B word. Now we're going to go into the market close live stream. So we'll just go ahead and I'll just modify the title a little bit. I'll just put market close and this. And why don't we get into the sticks and kind of see what's going on with the sticks? So if you want to stick around, I'd love for you to stay here. If not, hey, on your way out, make sure to take that 40% off coupon code with you, where you can get 40% off expiring tomorrow on the courses linked down below, including stocks, psychology of money, and real estate investing, property management, sales, and YouTube. So check that out, link down below. Okay, now let's go ahead and hop on over into the sticks. So let's see what we've got going on here. Let's see. All right, so let's see what we have here. We have Ethereum. You can kind of see on the 5-minute chart, it looks like right around 11 o'clock, like sort of 10 minutes into the event starting, you did get a little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news pump. By the way, thank you for this $49 donation. I see that here. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. That's awesome. There we go. Let me put this in here really quick, and let's go talk about these sticks. Expiring tomorrow. All right, there we go. Okay, good. So I find it very interesting that Ethereum and Bitcoin and Dogecoin all kind of rotated down here. So you see, this is when the event started. You had a little bit of a push. You even had Elon sort of pump up Doge a little bit. But unfortunately, this all rotated down pretty quickly. The fact that we didn't see more of a sell-off here, though, is a little bit, to me, a tell that the gains we've had over the last 24 hours are actually legitimate. That is potentially the lockup agreements expiring and folks kind of getting back into the regular sort of buying pattern, and this is pushing things back up again. Let's update the title here, market close, and Bitcoin, the B word, there we go. Okay, we'll pop that in there. Perfect. So let's see how the rest of the sticks are doing right now, how the rest of the market is doing. You got big digital assets. This is a crypto play right here, up 31% today. It did fall to about 65 cents as a low over the last couple days. It is unfortunately an OTC stock, so if you were to buy this, you would have to do a little bit of work getting getting money over to like a TD Ameritrade or Fidelity that is going to let you actually transact big digital assets, or even something like this here, Voyager Digital, which is up 20% today, which has really gotten beat up in the cryptocurrency space. You've got Lee Auto up, oh my gosh, like 9% today. Geez, Carnival and Norwegian up 10%. Boy, oh boy, these two have been rallying over the last 24 hours. This is really incredible. Meta Materials doing very, very well as well. I was not expecting these to take off so quickly after Monday's sell-off. SoFi up 8.6%. It's a pretty good move. Still relatively low in the grand scheme of things here. AXPI running into the close a little bit, up 7%. Lemonade up 6.95%. Let's take a look at what else we have. Give me 1 second if you don't mind. I forgot I just have to do a really quick intro to what we said. Let me get that out of the way really quick. Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Here are my thoughts and breakdowns for what was said during the B conference, or the Bitcoin conference, with Elon Musk, Cathie Wood, and Jack Dorsey from Twitter and Square. All right, let's get into it. Okay, sorry, we just needed to get that clip really quick. See, I can't. I don't actually have clones. All right, so what do we have here? We've got Cardano. Cardano up to $1.15. I've been sending out some buy alerts on Cardano at 106 and about 108. I've been doing some shopping at Cardano over the last couple days, sitting at 115 right now. So nice kind of move up to the upside here. We have Marin Big Digital. Okay, very good. We have CBOE volatility down again today. That's 2 days in a row that we've got volatility down. We do have AMC all of a sudden selling down here. It's unfortunate. AMC did start running in the day. We did get about a 2 to 3% run in the morning here, but we've kind of lost the enthusiasm there on AMC. Back to that support line over here. This is approximately, by the way, where I sold a couple, actually like 21 covered calls for $55 for December. And I'm doing that to lower my cost basis. If we see a volatility crush, I'll also dump those. But I don't expect that we would see a volatility crush anytime soon. It'd probably have to take a couple weeks before we would see any kind of volatility crush. So we'll stay tuned to see what happens here. We've got Darden up 2.2%, Boeing up 2.2%. Nice. What else? Churchill Capital actually down about 4% right now. Did have a nice run yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. Maybe it was the day before. These three are not crypto experts, says Crypto Luigi. Tomorrow night, Gerald, thanks for donating $5 to ask that. If you have any issues, just shoot me an email, kevin@mekevin.com. Tesla's actually down 1% here. I don't see anything particularly in the charts that would have indicated at, during the discussion we had any pain. A little bit. We did have some down arrows right here around the 11 o'clock range when the Bitcoin conference started. But there wasn't much talk about Apple there. I'm sorry, about Tesla there. And we have Walt Disney's pretty much flat. We have Marin Digital, Riot, Carnival, Lee Auto. These are some incredible runs on some of the names that have sold off heavily on Monday. You've got Neo up 5.7%. Pretty impressed with this recovery right now. I always get nervous that, like, okay, what if this is another one of those little fake outs, right? We've had plenty of that. I mean, just look at, for example, look at Enphase. Look at the volatility that you get when you look at the day chart here. We've had plenty of these ups and downs, so I've kind of started getting used to these maddening ups and downs that we have in this market. I think it's kind of funny, but as long as you're used to it, it's very good. All right, so let's see here. Then we have Shopify, 2.33% to the upside here. Hydrofarm, 4.58. CNBC's on commercial. Let's go ahead and jump on over and see what's on the Clem and countdown. Oh, look, they're actually doing highlights here. Let's listen in.
Discussion in the last hour, which aimed to demystify mainstream narratives about Bitcoin. Now, Musk says that Tesla, SpaceX, and he personally owns some of the crypto along with Ethereum and Dogecoin. He has not sold any of it. Plus, he discussed the environmental impact of Bitcoin. Here's what he said.
If the price of Bitcoin goes down, I lose money. I'm not sort of, I might pump, but I don't dump.
That was so
of Bitcoin and the idea of cryptocurrency in general. But as I've said publicly, we need to watch out for crypto taking, especially Bitcoin, using proof of work to maybe use energy that's maybe a bit too much and not necessarily good for the environment.
Musk also said if Bitcoin gets over the energy hurdles, Tesla would most likely resume accepting Bitcoin. That's separate from the fact that Tesla actually has Bitcoin on the books. But of course, Tesla had stopped accepting Bitcoin on those environmental concerns because mining Bitcoin takes a voluminous amount of energy. You see what Bitcoin's doing, but look at Ethereum moving 9% higher at the moment at 1946, still not at that 2000 level that it had seen a couple of months ago. And Litecoin up 7.25%. We got to look at Ripple's XRP. Ripple's XRP is higher as its lawyers submitted a supplemental letter to support their request for dismissal of that ongoing SEC case against Ripple. Basically, the SEC has said, in essence, that XRP is not a cryptocurrency. It's not a currency. It's an asset. However, Ripple says, wait a minute, you told us it was a cryptocurrency. We've been operating as one for all this time. In the meantime, you see XRP moving higher by 6.5%. And just as business leaders debate the
Good that XRP is finally getting some coverage.
future, airlines are already betting heavily on the future of flying. United Airlines has purchased 100 all-electric airplanes.
Look at Chipotle. What just happened? Look at Chipotle. It's up 12%. Oh my gosh. You know what I really, 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 really liked about Chipotle was that with Chipotle, they literally raised their prices while their beef costs were going down. I can't get over that. It's like literally like, everybody thinks there's inflation. Let's just charge more. Even though our costs are going down, there's no inflation, but we'll just charge more anyway. Oh, it's priceless. Battery powered planes. You wanted to hear about that, or let's see what we got
on board. And that's because the FAA has to have time to evaluate this aircraft and determine that they are air safe for passenger carry. Now, after these aircraft are delivered to United Airlines, it's going to be a far cry from a 747 cross-country flight. These airplanes are smaller. They carry about 19 people and they travel about 250 miles. So think more in terms of a regional flight. But what's coming to the market sooner is this. Take a look. This is a hybrid electric autonomous cargo aircraft. So these particular aircraft will, they say, transform e-commerce delivery. They promise to shave days off of the delivery of packages. You can expect to see this in commercial use in about 2 years. It operates a lot like a helicopter, so it needs no runway. It can take off and land directly from warehouse to warehouse, carrying about 500 pounds. Now, while these aircraft will transport parcels and packages, the engineers say that the development of this hybrid electric technology means passenger travel on all electric planes is not that far off.
What you're starting to see is airlines getting ready to adopt electric air taxis for short range, 2 to 4 passengers at a time. And then you see commercial shippers on the logistics side getting ready to adopt systems like Chaparral, which will run middle mile express parcel between warehouse to warehouse.
Now, the range on aircraft like this with the hybrid technology for the parcel delivery, about 300 miles. And it works a lot like a hybrid car where the battery is recharged in the air as it's traveling. They say that they are also in the works to develop an all-electric parcel delivery service, but that's going to take several more years, Liz.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at those. Pretty fascinating. Can't wait. Thank you very much. We love American innovation. Lydia Huth, thank you so much.
Yeah. It's going to be a while before we get that kind of American innovation in our backyard. Sorry, not very enthusiastic. Right now, I'm more enthusiastic about burritos. In fact, a burrito sounds really good right now. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, I want to get out of the suit too. My head hurts and I don't want to sit here in a suit. But I do want to sit here and hang out with y'all because honestly, I don't know why, but I like doing this. I like seeing what the heck is happening in this world. Look at that. Marathon SOS. I have to say, I'm just gonna be very clear about it. They better not it off with all this autonomous aircraft talk. I'm a pilot. Yeah, sorry, man. Don't worry. I think you got at least another 10 years, though. But anyway, I'm really surprised by Norwegian and Carnival. In fact, you know what we're going to do is we're going to pull up the terminal and try to figure out why. Why are Norwegian and Carnival up like this? This is pretty interesting. Did somebody say something? Is this just, oh my gosh, they oversold? Carnival's almost under $20. Let's just buy it up. Blah 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 blah. I don't know. It makes me kind of curious. But let's go ahead and log in here. You know what? In the meantime, CNBC's on commercial. They're always on commercial. I don't get it. How do they provide content? Every time I flip over, they're on commercial. Okay, maybe not every time, but almost. All right, Bloomberg Terminal's coming up. Let's see what we got for Carnival and Norwegian, and we'll also see what else is going on in the market. If you haven't yet, check out my tweets regarding some of the things that what's his name said. We've got Elon Musk quoted a couple times on tweets. I think you'll enjoy those if you haven't seen those yet. I've also got a poll running. Love your help on the poll. Okay, here we go. Terminals coming up. Let's see what we've got. I really think that this is just a market. Like, I don't think anything happened at the cruise lines. I think this is just solely a classic kind of rotation where it's like Monday, everybody's like, oh my gosh, recovery stocks are dead. COVID 2.0. Oh no, it's over. And then now you've got a bunch of articles coming out going, no, COVID 2.0 is overblown. It's not going to be that bad. You know, enough people are vaccinated. Like, obviously, it's going to be dangerous potentially to some folks, and people are going to die. But in terms of the market's probably not going to react very negatively to the actual news. That's at least what we're hearing right now. No, the code word was not pray. I have not gotten an actual word ever, except when it was pray. I tell you, that is weird. Okay, so looking at the news of the day for Carnival. Okay, here. So I got the full news up. Is Princess Cruises Carnival? Princess Cruises announces Discovery Princess senior officers. Princess Cruises inaugural Discovery voyage set for spring 2022. Princess Cruises set to debut. Okay, I'm getting a lot of that. So maybe this is just like a sign of like going back to normal. 2 more Carnival ships will sail in October. That's probably what this is. I mean, there's no like one thing, I would say, the exception of Princess Cruises. Let's figure out who owns Princess Cruises. Princess. Oh, it is Carnival. Okay. All right. Well, there you go then. Okay. Well, thank you for saying that. All right, good. So that explains potentially why Norwegian and Carnival are up a little bit. Let's go ahead and hop on over here to CNBC for a moment.
In terms of what you're going to get from real growth or even nominal GDP growth. You know, when I started, this seems so hopelessly Victorian now, but people would use nominal GDP growth as kind of what you would use as your answer for 10-year treasury yields. Obviously, we're a long way away from that by almost however you slice it. We're a long way away from that. So I think rates can rise without even the Fed tightening. I think also, you know, you're going to have I think all policymakers are going to have a harder time stepping away from the table of accommodation than they perceive because of things that you've seen just over the last week. There are going to be all sorts of concerns about whether it's employment or whether it's a Delta variant or health issues. There are going to be some very difficult political choices, I think, even for the Fed, that have to be made in the second half of the year.
So having said all that, Jason, you like energy, financials, materials, and industrials, which is currently what's working in the market today, and basically had been working until Treasury yields started falling, and then they got hit the hardest.
That's right.
So you haven't lost faith there in some of those cyclical groups?
You know, Sarah, I haven't, and this is one of the things. It doesn't matter why you're wrong. You know, I mean, I think, you know, you're when you're wrong, you're wrong.
Treasury yields, by the way, they had it actually up on screen there. 1.29% up again.
Higher 10-year treasury yields. And that was our general feeling at Strategas. And we're still largely of the view that inflation is going to be stickier. Obviously, the Treasury market is on a different page, and we have to respect the markets. We have to make sure that we're not whistling past the graveyard. My own opinion is that in time, Treasury yields will reflect what we believe will be stickier inflation. Having said that, I think what we saw earlier this week, or last couple of weeks, is either a fear that we may make a policy error by maybe tightening too soon, or that there's another spike in the Delta variant or something else that's happening, or geopolitical event. And so I would say commodities and stocks are largely on the same page. They're kind of telling you the same thing for the most part. Treasury yields tend to be a little bit of the outlier, but you still have to respect it.
What do you have in your portfolio for protection at the moment, Jason?
Ooh, good question. Really good question.
It's well, this is, in my opinion, the best place to have some protection, largely given what I'm afraid of, is in basic materials and energy, believe it or not, because I'm most afraid of inflation because of I think, the profligacy and the accommodation that you've seen in the system. It is interesting to me that FANG, in many ways, for a new generation of investors, seems to be kind of the new Campbell's soup or the new Procter & Gamble. Again, maybe I'm just too old, but
good point.
Kind of the old days, you're worried about the economy, where bond yields were declining, you would really move towards defensive sectors. And today, I think for a whole new group of people, that for them, what is defensive are the secular growers, regardless of what the valuation is. And so I'm not sure I think those are great companies. I don't have any interest in shorting them when the Fed is keeping rates at zero. I think there are better places if you're worried about economic growth. My own opinion is I would probably, this is not my view, but if you're really worried about economic growth, I would probably go to the more traditional defensive sectors, which haven't been working particularly well.
Utilities, REITs, and staples all down today. Jason, thank you. Jason Trenner from Strategas.
Thanks for having me on.
Coca-Cola out with earnings this morning. It's a big winner today. Up next, what the company CEO, James Quincy, says about the state of the consumer and whether he's worried about the Delta variant impacting the reopening trade. We'll take you inside the market zone with the Dow up 275.
At ToughShed, the safety of our customers and workers is our first priority. ToughShed.com.
All right. Let's go ahead and hop back over. Let's see, to the sticks. Let's go over what we've got. All right, so here we go. Chipotle, I cannot believe it. 12% on Chipotle. I mean, it's really, really incredible. 8.3% on SoFi. SoFi was definitely oversold over the last couple days. Getting down to 1470 is pretty low. You've got AMC now down almost a full 5%. Ouch. You've got Churchill Capital sitting at about 4. GameStop 2.81. Wayfair down about 1.53. Tesla down 0.7. Tattooed Chef 0.35. Still some of the, like even Peloton's flat right now. So you got Peloton flat, and then sort of momentum kind of falling a bit. Whereas you have, well, then again, Marin and MRAT are momentum. But you do have Voyager and Big moving because of crypto. Yeah, Ashford Hospitality's crypto as well. So you kind of got, as a momentum as well. So you got the split momentum move here. Yeah. Marathon Digital. Carnival. I want to go on a cruise ship. Oh, I can't wait to go cruising again. Lemonade, 737. Kind of trying to catch up a little bit going into the close here. Blink charging up again. Oh, that reminds me. How's ChargePoint? Oh, ChargePoint's up 5.73 today. Very nice. Let's go out to the day chart here and take a peek here. Yeah, look at that. We almost fell to that support line of 19. We actually bounced off about 22, and right now we're sitting around 26 again. So that's a pretty nice move back to the upside there. Nice job. Very, very cool. I like looking at that. I mean, those are the kinds of places to go buy. So what else? Hut 8 mining. How low did Hut 8 get? They actually held up pretty well. Oh, look at that. They fell to our support level of 13-ish, 13.15-ish, 13.37-ish, close, very close. And now they're popping off again. Very good. That's incredible. I mean, hey, that's not bad. Good for Hut 8. I like to see that. I like Hut 8. All right. Then we have, let's see here. Okay, let's go ahead and jump back over to Fox here 1 sec. All right, let's see what Fox has to say.
Product, I think the market's giving us more of a consumer finance multiple. Over time, as they realize how impressive and how good our technology is, I think that jumps to a fintech multiple, which could be an incredible growth in the stock. I think though that's not necessarily tomorrow.
This guy needs some better audio.
Years up.
Okay, we're watching the stock. It is doing well today in its debut. We'll be watching the company as we look ahead. Joe, Jared, congratulations on the debut. We are coming right back. Don't go away.
Experience more commercials. Somebody says, Kevin, can you speak about Churchill Capital, please? What would you like to know? What would you like to know about Churchill Capital? Well, we're the CEO is trying to get people to vote so we can get the merger done. That'll be cool. It'll be nice to have that. What is happening here? It'll be nice to have it over and the darn thing actually finally listed as a as Lucid rather than CCIV. You know, getting the merger done is always nice. All right, there we go. Let's see here. All right, that's better. So, but yeah, what do we think is going to happen to pricing? You know, I don't know. I mean, short term, you could have some euphoria that goes into it leading up to merger. It could be a buy the rumor, sell the news, which is very, 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 very common, especially in this market. I'm not holding my breath for like a big run that's permanent on Churchill Capital on this merger stuff. What I would be much more interested in is seeing cars come off the line. They start getting cars off the line. Now we're talking. That's what I'm looking forward to. I would, this stupid thing. Oh my gosh. Sorry. This little headset thing I have kills me. It's just really bad today. Sorry about that. Do your options get affected? No, it just transfers over. You know, hashtag, I'm not guaranteeing that for you, but that's my understanding is that you're because I even had options on SoFi while it was what was it, IPOE, I think, and they just became SoFi options. Sometimes it takes a couple days though. Like sometimes people freak out. It's like, oh my gosh, my options disappeared or whatever, and it just takes a couple days for them to show up. It's kind of weird, but it happens. Everyone was looking for the next Tesla and got let down with CCIV. Yeah. Yes. I think the excitement was that we were at like peak EV euphoria, and the thought was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna have cars rolling off the line pretty soon. They got all this money, but you know, then they had to revalue their company. When they revalued their company and got greedy, that was so bad for shareholders. It was so bad. I mean, they just, oh man, it just really like destroyed shareholders. Yeah, that was pretty bad. The revaluation just came across as so greedy, taking advantage of the higher valuation. I don't know. It was a dirty move. Carnival 9.8, Li Auto 9, HUD 8, almost 9, SoFi almost 9. Nice. Okay, good moves. DraftKings 6.96, very nice. EXP 6.79, Gevo 612, Clove, Lyft, nice. SunPower moving up a good 5%. Nice. Canadian Solar, awesome. Square, 4.28. Very nice. Let's see here. Okay. Then we have Square. Jack Dorsey Square. Oops, that's Nordic American Takers. Where'd it go? Where's Square? So I'm going to look at Square for a moment here on the day chart. Square for me is like, I'm okay under 130 on these. But not when we get up this high. It's backed by the private investment fund. Yeah, so what? But anyway, this is Square. Yeah, if we get under like 220, that's usually buy time when you get into this channel over here. You rarely get these pushes out. I wouldn't be buying Square right now, not at these prices, just based on patterns here. Look at Etsy. Oh, look at the breakout we had here. Very nice. Ooh, I like this. Anyway, this was very, very cool here by Etsy. Hopefully, this ends up pushing us back over the 200s pretty nicely. Yeah, Elon Musk, by the way, loves Etsy. When he said that on Twitter, he pumped it to like 230 real fast. That's cool. Like he says, he pumps, he does not dump. Oh gosh, I don't think he meant to say that. He's gonna get so much heat for that one.
New Department of Justice antitrust nominee has a history of representing companies that have sued the search engine giant. Let's bring in Charlie Gasparino.
Oh man, Charlie is like the biggest AMC hater. He's always bagging on the apes.
Bounce this around a bit. Here's what we know. Sources are telling the Fox Business Network, and these are essentially antitrust lawyers, lobbyists, people in D.C. who deal with the Justice Department's
SoFi running
plenty and deal with companies. They're saying that the Biden administration is, in all likelihood, can't guarantee it, but it's pretty guaranteed, will seek an ethics waiver. So their appointee to be the head of the Justice Department's antitrust division, that's Jonathan Cantor, can represent the government, be essentially the lead lawyer of the government behind the scenes. Probably won't be in the courtroom. Usually hire outside people to do that on major antitrust cases, but he might. He is.
I don't really care about the antitrust. Honestly, we're going to back off this. All right. Well, I like adding commentary.
Double-edged party continue of reopenings plus still at-home sales going well.
Well, they're not going to have results like this.
No.
I mean, this was a reopening quarter, but what they're showing is that they're back to 2019 levels, and they can potentially grow above it if the company line has been. We put in place measures to improve. We've taken the COVID opportunity to reposition our place in the market, which a lot of companies have, and some of the best companies have, because they have scale and they're able to do that where their smaller competitors can't. And Coca-Cola has done that in a big way. I'm kind of surprised, Mike, that the stock is only up 1%. Yes, it ran up ahead of this.
The stock has totally held its valuation. It's not as if the stock was like punished at a real discount for very long. So I think that's one of your answers. 3% yield. It matters for the Coke shareholder. It's still got a little slight premium to Pepsi, even if you look at it based on next 12-month earnings.
Also, staples aren't so hot today.
But the estimates better go up next year, and they probably will, because right now the second quarter of next year is supposed to be down from this year. So you have to see how this is going to flow through expectations for what's to come in an economy that should be growing pretty well through that point.
United Airlines shares taking off after reporting better than expected quarterly revenue. Phil LeBeau's got those details for us. Phil.
Hey, well, nice day for United and really for all of the airline stocks. In terms of United, well, the outlook is pretty upbeat all across the board. The Q3 and Q4, the company expects sustained profitability. By the way, there were some on Wall Street who expected the company to say, yeah, we may be losing money in Q3. That's not the case here. Corporate bookings are improving. The Delta variant, according to CEO Scott Kirby, it is not hurting their bookings. Here he is this morning on Squawk Box.
Let's hear it. This was from this morning.
We don't see anything in our bookings data. Every day, bookings get stronger and stronger. All of our conversations with corporate accounts say that everything is continued unabated. They expect to open offices in September mostly and come back. And I think the most likely and logical outcome is that we continue largely unabated.
Take a look at shares of United today along with Southwest.
Listening to these, and I've said this over the last couple of days, and we have more earnings coming up today. Listening to these earnings calls, especially what these CEOs are saying, is, in my opinion, just money in the pocket. Like it's so money in the pocket. Because if you have these CEOs, especially travel companies, going, hey, things are going great, not seeing any slowdowns, and they've been selling off the last 3 months, maybe there's an opportunity to pick something up. Look, you've got Whirlpool reporting today. When Whirlpool reports, and Las Vegas Sands, that's going to be huge for like Wynn and the casinos. When some of these report and we get the earnings and we start evaluating their earnings calls, we'll be able to know, okay, wait a minute, Whirlpool, what about Las Vegas Sands? Are they expecting a slowdown or are they expecting things to keep going? All right. Kyler says your course has gotten so expensive. Well, the price goes up all the time because they keep adding content, but you could use that 40% off coupon code down below, and then it's not that expensive anymore. All right, so let's go back to the stakes. We have 6 minutes to go before the end of the day. That's right, because it's Wednesday. So let's see here. All right, what do we have? We have 16%. Oh, Voyager Digital dropping a little bit going into the close here. SoFi Technology is now up over 10%. Yeah, I already have talked about the CCIV merger, so I've already handled that. Let's see here. We've got Big Digital Assets, Marin Software, Meta Materials, Voyager Digital. Okay, Chipotle, 11.70 here. Still holding on very nicely, these numbers. Very impressed by Carnival here. I'm very actually interested in this. Look at this. Look at this right here, okay? Let's zoom out for a moment. Carnival Cruise Lines right now is sitting at February pricing. It's also sitting at its December peak price. What I want to do is I want to see what their earnings are going forward and when they're going to make money. Yo, people keep saying, Kevin, go on Timcast. I think I've said like a million times, like if Timcast is like, yo, Kevin, come on, I'm there. Like just set it up. So, okay, but what is it going to look? CCL. I want to look at their finances. Oh, I have CCL up already. Well, that's convenient. Let's just quickly take 30 seconds and look at their finances, financial analysis here. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. So we're expecting to be profitable again by 2022. The airlines are expecting to be profitable again, or at least I think it was United yesterday was expecting to be profitable again in the second half. Carnival Cruise Lines, wow. I mean, Carnival Cruise Lines expects to be at potentially, a $2 to $3 EPS again by 2023, 4, and 5. The problem is their growth is really going to slow. At least these are the current projections, is that their growth will really slow between 24 and 25 after we sort of have maybe an initial boom in cruising. And so long run, it's not going to be a long growth play, but yeah, I mean, there could be some sweet swings here. All right. Hold on one sec. Okay. Gosh. Okay. Hold on. So where were we? All right, let's go back to sticks here. All right. So CBOE volatility down 8%. Expected this. AMC slipping into the close. Slipping. Yeah, yesterday was a phenomenal day, but today was a bleed of a day. Oof. Now sitting under support. So now this is our resistance line going into the close. 5.33% to the downside. Do I own any NFTs? I don't think so. No, I never bought an NFT. Newegg down 5.15. How has Newegg been overall? Oh, hold on a second. Here's some breaking news, actually.
Quite there yet. Now, this procedural move needed 60 votes in order to pass. 49 Democrats voted for it. All 50 Republicans voted against it. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had to vote against it as well in order to bring this back up later. That means that this bipartisan plan is not dead just yet. Senators are hoping that they can reach a final deal by Monday. And we even saw Democrat Senator Mark Warner and a Republican Susan Collins, 2 members of the negotiating team, talking, laughing, chatting on the Senate floor as this vote was going on. We are expecting the bipartisan Senate negotiating team to issue a statement later on today. But for now, this test vote on the bipartisan infrastructure plan has failed. Back over to you.
Elon, thank you. 2 minutes left in the trading day. Not sure that headline had much of an impact. We're near the highs of the day here on the Dow at 300.
No, it seems like not issue one for traders.
Yeah, you definitely haven't. Okay, so bad news basically on the infrastructure package, and the stock market just didn't care. In fact, let me go ahead and pull up the SPY. SPY on the 1 minute chart. This news came out more recent. Well, this is not SPY. This is Sentinel. Okay, hold on. I'm like, wait a minute. That's not SPY. If anything, you have like a rally into the close on the S&P. What is this? Look at the volume that exploded here into the close. I mean, that could be index funds, though. Sometimes these are index funds. Do I consider FUV more of a fundamental or spec? Probably on the spec side. Yeah. Yep. Probably. Hold on. All right, we got the closing bell coming up. Let's listen.
three major indices. The Russell's up more than that, double that, about 1.8%. Energy, the best performing sector, up 3.5% today, taking that back into positive territory for the week.
All right, here we go.
4.5% today is still down on the week by about 2%. Next best sector is financials and materials and industrials. The very much cyclicals that lead the charge today. Utilities, real estate, and consumer staples.
There's the close. Dow Jones up 0.82, S&P up 0.82, NASDAQ up 0.92, Russell 2000 up 1.85. Boom. Let's go ahead and see how things went ahead and closed. We are going to jump on over to the sticks. We've got big digital assets up 33.18%. Marin Software up 24%. Big momentum play there. Crypto play on big digital. Meta Materials up 20%. We've got earnings coming up. We've got Whirlpool earnings coming up and Las Vegas Sands coming up that we want to look at. Voyager Digital, Riot. I mean, some incredible recoveries here, especially on the crypto plays. SoFi, Norwegian, Carnival up 10%. Wonderful moves. Cardano, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Dogecoin slightly selling off within about the last 20 minutes here, but overall still up from where we were in the last 24 hours. EXPI almost back to 40, hitting 37 right now. Blink 34. Nice recovery. ChargePoint bouncing off its support line pretty strongly. Let's see here. Oh, congratulations, unboxing on your options trade there. Always remember, if you want my insights into how I invest, always check out the programs link down below. Use that 40% off coupon code and join me in the programs on building your wealth. Looking at the downside, volatility down, Newegg momentum played down. We've got AMC down, unfortunately, here about 5.41% with another 0.5% in the after, so about down 6%, just under its support line of around $41. National Beverage down 4.64. Churchill Capital down 3.42. GameStop 2.88. Cost 1.13, Tesla down 0.79, Fannie, Walmart, Apple, these guys down 1/3 to 1/2. Peloton actually ended up slightly with Beyond Meat and Amazon up 1/3, Ubiquity up 1/3, Etsy up about 1/2. And what else? Salesforce actually went up 1% today. Wow, I don't usually trade sideways. All right, let's go ahead and get earnings up. So I'm going to play CNBC here for a moment. Let's see if we can comment on something while I pull up Whirlpool.
I wouldn't say major catalyst. I think it was a matter of the market bent slightly, didn't break. We've seen this pattern before. Very strong rally to come back yesterday, and no real switch back in terms of what Treasury yields were doing. We got more lift there. So the capital markets in general relaxing from that flinching that we did on Monday. I'm completely willing to hear that the driving down of the 10-year Treasury yield to 112 the other day was purely mortgage hedging that ran its course. It was technical. It was the demand with a storyline on top of it that we have this global scare about Delta. And I think all of it is in the mix. That's the explanation for why 2 days later it's like, oh, okay, I guess we were worrying a little bit too much. Plus, we're still vaccinating 500,000 people a day. And that's not stopped just because of this. So all that's in the mix. I think it's mostly a bull market acting like one. And today was the average stock beating the S&P for once, which has been, the comeback pattern, not what got us into the highs.
Chris, you still quite bullish?
Yeah, and we're with Mike. Mike nailed a lot of the points. The first point I would make as an additional point would be the fact that this is a middle-aged bull. So you're going to get a lot of sector rotation.
Middle-aged bull market leads to sector rotation. That's an interesting way to put it. All right, I've got Whirlpool up, and I've got Las Vegas Sands up. I'm waiting for earnings.
The underlying benefits of profit growth, revenue growth that is surprising. Yes, everybody knows that there was going to be big beats. Yes, everybody knows that yields are driving the interplay between tech and financials. But at the end of the day, when you get a rising profit cycle, you have extreme liquidity, and you have companies with the ability to control operating leverage, despite the fact that you have a lot of price hikes in the input side of the equation, and you have excess savings. This is a middle-aged bull market that still wants to run.
So what do you buy on the weakness?
Wow.
So we are of the view that most people, investors on the retail and institutional side, are still holding on to a lot of the technology end and healthcare ends, or the growth side of the equation, which we completely believe is fine, because we want a barbell. In our own CIO portfolios, we're buying on weakness where the cyclical side,
Barbell, boring.
break, or even the travel, leisure, and entertainment areas, because the reopening still really isn't gathering as much momentum as we all want, not just in the States, but globally. So we're going to buy the cyclical, more economic sensitive areas on weakness.
Let's quickly hit Texas Instruments before we get back to the broader markets. The earnings are out. The stock is down. Josh Lipton, why?
So, Will, Texas Instruments reporting Q2 results here. 205 on the bottom line. Unclear if that's comparable to the $1.83 the street was looking for. 4.58 billion on the top line revenue. That's versus the 4.35 billion the street was looking for there. In terms of the guidance for Q3, they're guiding for between $1.87 and $1.13. 97.
I didn't have Texas up.
Forecast for Q3 revenue. They say they're looking for between 4.4 and 4.76 billion. Street was at 4.6 billion. Just turning quickly to the segments. Analog.
Oh, Whirlpool's out. Okay, Whirlpool sales coming in at 5.32 billion. This is a beat. EPS was 5.9. They beat with 6.64. This is good. Net sales were 5.32 versus estimates of 5.03. So they beat on top, raises guidance, and a beat on the bottom line. That is a triple beat for Whirlpool. Las Vegas Sands is out. Revenue coming in at 1.17 billion. Casino revenue 843 billion. They had property adjusted EBITDA coming in lower than expected. 244 EBITDA versus 290.6 expected. Net revenue though was 1.17 billion versus 98 million a year ago. But they did miss estimates on that EBITDA, so not superb. Kinder Morgan, the energy company, dividend maintained at 27 cents, revenue at 3.15 billion, loss of 757 million. Not sure what the expectations were on that one. So we have a good beat on Whirlpool again. Las Vegas Sands is a miss. And we do have Netgear. Netgear just came out. Netgear comes in with a miss. 66 cents versus 71 expected. Revenue up 10% year over year to $308.8 million. Adjusted EPS misses estimate. Netgear shares drop 5.1% post-market after earnings miss. Ouch. Okay, not good. Not good. This is not so great, right? So we got a couple issues here. Number one, we have Las Vegas Sands missing for some reason. We got to find out why. Why did Las Vegas Sands miss? That's not good for Vegas. Why did Netgear miss? What happened there? Why is Netgear missing? Is it the semiconductor shortage? Is it supply shortages? Is it what is it, right? And then Whirlpool beating and increasing guidance is actually very, very good. So folks, go get yourself some tendies. Join me in the amazing programs on Building Your Wealth with daily live streams when the market is open. I appreciate you all being here, folks. I got to go. Thank you again. Wish me luck today, and I'll see you soon.